a former commander of Colombia's Farc rebel group, Iván Márquez, has released a video 6 months after going into hiding. In the film, he accuses the government of betraying the terms of the historic peace agreement signed in 2016. He says 400 community leaders and 85 farmer fighters have been killed since the peace accord was signed. Mr. Márquez led the Farc's negotiating team in the talks, which were held in Cuba and lasted 4 years. The Farc always said that it feared reprisals from those who opposed the peace process. In April, one of its most senior leaders, Iván Márquez, was arrested at the request of the United States, accused of drug trafficking. Soon after that, Mr. Márquez resigned from his seat in the Colombian Senate and went into hiding. Mr. Márquez does not reveal his whereabouts during the 2-minute video, which he prepared for the 25th International Road Luxembourg Conference in Berlin. The Farc, a revolutionary armed forces of Colombia, is now a political party known as the Revolutionary Alternative Common Force with 5 seats in the Senate and 5 in the House of Representatives. Mr. Márquez said the left-wing group had made a crucial mistake. During the final phase of the negotiations, we agreed to lay down our weapons before securing an agreement on the political, economic and social integration of the fighters. En video, mi saludo a los Council entry, Rosa Luxembourg, https://t. Code 7 End of Twitter post by Iván Márquez Farc. But the former commander, whose real name is Luciano Marn, said he remained committed to peace and to the full implementation of the agreement. On 25 November 2016, it was signed in Havana as the final agreement to end the conflict and to bring about stable and lasting peace. He said, only 2 years later, the results in terms of implementation by the government are disheartening. The government of President Iván Duque says it is taking steps to increase security for farmer rebels. Mr. Duque, a vocal critic of the peace deal, took office in August. He replaced Juan Manuel Santos, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in the agreement with the Farc, which put an end to more than 5 decades of conflict. A week ago, the chief, Antonio Guterres, urged President Duque to do more to protect farmer rebels. He said many of them had been killed by illegal armed groups and drug gangs. 1964, set up as armed wing of Communist Party. 2002, at its height, it had an army of 20,000 fighters controlling up to a third of the country. Senator Ingrid Betancourt, kidnapped and held for 6 years, along with 14 other hostages. 2008, the Farc suffers a series of defeats in its worst year. 2012, start of peace talks in Havana. 2016, definitive ceasefire. 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with kids to their necks. The country's Interior Ministry said both bodies were found near the town of Imlil in the high Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Tapco. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths. The Interior Ministry statement said 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with kids to their necks. The country's Interior Ministry said Both bodies were found near the town of Imlil in the high Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Tapco. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths. The Interior Ministry statement said, a poacher has been ordered to watch the Disney film Bambi repeatedly after he was convicted of illegally killing hundreds of deer. Missouri hunter David Barry, Jr., must view the film at least once a month during his year-long sentence. He was arrested in August along with 2 family members for killing the deer, taking their heads and leaving their bodies to rot. Prosecutors said, it is reportedly one of the biggest poaching cases in Missouri history. On top of the jail sentence for the illegal deer hunting, Judge Robert George ordered Barry Jr. to view the Walt Disney movie Bambi, with the first viewing being on or before December 24, 2018, and at least one such viewing each month thereafter, during his spell in prison. The 1942 cartoon about woodland creatures shows a hunter kill the mother of eponymous deer character Bambi. A months-long investigation, spanning several states, led to the arrest of Barry Jr., his father David Barry, Sr., and his brother Kyle Barry, according to local newspaper, the Springfield News Leader. While the total number of deer taken illegally is unknown, Lawrence County's conservation agent Andy Barnes said it could be several hundred. Barry Jr. received a year-long sentence in Lawrence County Prison after pleading guilty to illegally taking wildlife. He has also been sentenced to a 120-day term in Barton County Prison for a firearms probation violation, and both he and his father had their hunting privileges revoked for life by the Missouri Conservation Commission. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. This was the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 30 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia since 80 Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government, the United States military said. Alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing Al-Shabaab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia. The United States Africa Command said Al-Shabaab, which is linked to Al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes. Somalia-based security think tank the High Royal Institute said in a report published in November that Al-Shabaab had been forced to change tactics following the upsurge in airstrikes. The institute said the group was now conducting fewer mass attacks on military bases, but attacks on government offices and businesses which refused to pay its taxes had increased markedly. The United States State Department, in its most recent report on terrorism, described Somalia as a terrorist safe haven, and said Al-Shabaab remained a threat. Despite suffering setbacks, the group retained control over large parts of the country, and the ability to carry out high-profile attacks, using suicide bombers, explosive devices, mortars, and small arms. The report added, 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with kids to their necks, the country's interior ministry said.